Welcome, Idaho Sports Talk. Prater in the ball game right here on Sports Radio The Ticket. Download our new app for your phone. You'll love it, and it makes it easier to access KTIK radio than ever before. We archive everything on that app, great interviews, every show. It's just a perfect situation. So get to your app store on your smartphone, type in KTIK Sports Radio The Ticket. You'll find it. It's going to be easy. Prater in the ball game. I'm Johnny Ballgame and Prater. One more full hour on this Wednesday. It's a short week. Boise State in El Paso playing UTEP on a Friday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time kick. And we only got a few more hours left before we process this and talk about it and getting the Broncos to 3-1 on the season.
These short weeks go by fast, ball game, way too fast. All of a sudden, it seems like it's Thursday or Friday right now. But, let's get after it. Let's take advantage of this time.
We opened the program and we just said simple. Text us in 208-424-9300. Who's the best player on this team so far? Or who's the best player on this team right now? And I've been shocked at all the response we've had.
Why are you shocked?
Because there's more Zeke Noahs than Scott Matlocks. There's Jonah Dalmas votes. There's a couple of Talon Green votes. And I know Talon looked pretty damn impressive in Corvallis on that 74-yard teeter, but to sit there and say he's the best player on the team right now, I mean, come on, Bronco Nation. We've just had, I thought this was a two-player conversation. One, Scott Matlock, two, JL Skinner, and right now they're kind of just in the middle of the pack on this on our fan text vote. Text in. Who's the best player on this team, Prater?
Did you expect some intelligent responses?
Yes.
Come on, these are twidiots. These are absolute 100% twidiots, and you're giving them way too much love, ball game. It is a two-person conversation. I don't care what these guys say. You can throw it out there for entertainment purposes only, just to kind of entertain you and I. This is a two-man conversation. There's 106 football players on Boise State's roster. This is a two-man debate. It's not George Chalani. It's not Talon Green. It's not Zeke Noah. It is JL Skinner and Scott Matlock, and everybody else is standing in line for second place.
Who's your number one? Who is Mike Prater's best player on this football team right now? And please show me your work. Explain to me why Michael F.
Well, I was hoping we could use this segment to actually come up with an answer, because I don't know. And I'm not sure you know either. We had a couple conversations about this in Cubicleville today, and I think we're both a little bit torn. I know that you're emotionally in love with Scott Matlock, as am I. Physically, we all love what JL Skinner can bring to the table as a football player. He's much more entertaining to watch when he's got his A game going on, because he's out there doing these phenomenally wonderful athletic things, and Scott Matlock is just in the middle fighting off a double team. There's nothing sexy about fighting off a double team, but you know what? In terms of production and dominance and performance, I think it's got to be Scott Matlock. He's in the backfield all the time. He's a beast. Every time we go to a Boise State press conference, he's the one consistent guy that Boise State coaches and teammates talk about. The one word that I think is damaging this football season more than anything else is consistency, or the lack of consistency. This football team and special teams, coaching, playing, offense, defense, execution, pregame, postgame, Monday through Friday. Everything about this football program right now is inconsistent. From fall camp to the regular season, inconsistent. That's what's driving the fans crazy. We don't know if we're looking at Jekyll. We don't know if we're looking at Hyde. We're not sure what's going on, but there's one constant, and it's been Scott Matlock, who's been dominant. There is no doubt about it. Scott Matlock is the best football player on this roster, ball game.
Had JL Skinner played in the New Mexico game.
Correct.
And had a typical Skinner game, 9 tackles, maybe a TFL, maybe a pick, maybe a forced fumble, maybe a fumble recovery, maybe a pass defended. Maybe I could argue JL Skinner into this thing. If we're talking about maybe who's going to get drafted higher, maybe I could say, well, Skinner's going to get drafted higher or lower in this case than Matlock. But I don't even know if that is the case too.
Agreed.
You said I am emotional. What did he say, JP? I have an emotional love for Scott Matlock.
You're emotionally in love with him.
That's what he said. I'm emotionally in love with
Prove
Scott
me wrong.
Matlock.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I've watched.
That's a compliment, by the way.
Thank you. I record the games. I go back, I watch the TV copy. I don't have the all 22s. I've been texting the coaches, but they haven't sent them my way yet. I'm still waiting for this. But I go back and I watch the TV copy, and I can't my remote control can't get off the pause and rewind button on some plays I've seen Scott Matlock make, man. So he is having a terrific season. I can just tell from my own evaluation on tape. Andy Avalos spoke on Monday, and there was the one question I think I got in to Coach Avalos. I wanted to see what he was seeing on tape too, because he is an expert and he knows way more about this than I do. This was Andy Avalos on Monday after I asked him the question, just what type of season is Scott Matlock having on tape?
I mean, he's been consistent in the run game, in the pass game, and generating a pass rush. And, he gets a lot of attention. So, it's not like he's getting a lot of one-on-one blocks either. And that's the thing about it, that what goes into playing that position, it's not glorified very often. Sometimes guys' stat lines aren't very they don't look very productive. But when we grade the film and the amount of production he gets from the standpoint of what he does as an interior D lineman and what he creates and the amount of attention he generates, I mean, he's been awesome. And so there's definitely areas that, we're focusing on even for him coming out of the last game. There's areas where he wants to get better, that he knows he needs to get better. So we're off to a good start with him with a lot of time left to play. And like anyone and everyone else, we just got to keep improving, man, because he's doing a really good job.
All right, that's Andy Avalos on Scott Matlock, a really good job. And I like it when coaches say stuff like that. Andy Avalos cannot say he can't pump him up too much, if you know what I mean, right?
Correct.
So if you hear the coach say he's doing a really good job, it also means, okay, so he's kicking ass. Yep. Scott Matlock is his position coach, Frank Miley. We talked to him. He talked to the media yesterday, and I was thinking the same thing. Like, what is Miley seeing on tape? He watches more tape on Matlock than Avalos does. Here's his defensive line coach, Frank Miley, on the season Scott Matlock is having.
For him, it's just the small details of his technical work every single day, where his eyes are, his footwork to striking. And he'll be the first one to tell you that there's a lot of work that he's got to get done, even though a lot of people don't see that on the football field. For him, it's just every day, how consistently can I take a step forward at mastering his craft. So he's done a good job.
What stood out the most to you on tape with Scott this year so far?
I think he's more consistent now. He's consistently being a great leader in all aspects on and off the football field. Just his technique is so much better than it was last year. Not that it was bad, but it's taken another level, another step forward. And so for him to be an elite player and an overall whole football player, I think he understands he's going to continue to grow and take those steps forward.
We just all love the Scott Matlock journey in terms of the personal journey, the production journey, and the way he's built himself as a football player. Massive amounts of growth. I mean, no offense to JL Skinner, but he was blessed with this beautiful body and these beautiful set of skills, and he's taking advantage of them, and he's going to be a good football player if he can stay on the football all season long. I cannot wait to see what happens with him in the NFL draft. But same deal with Scott Matlock, who's worked and earned and grinded and actually just the blue collar mentality. He is your poster boy. There's a reason why he was the first poster hung. Maybe, I don't know if it's the exact reason.
You'd like to think that there's a reason on that.
He was the first poster
yes, hung. Yeah.
On that east side of the Albertson Stadium. They put him up first. And whether it was on purpose or metaphorically, the reason why, I think Scott Matlock is the poster boy for Boise State football. He's a local guy. He's a blue-collar guy. He showed up with no business of playing college football, and now he may have a future in professional football. We all love those stories around here, Ballgame.
Yeah, and just having a terrific year, and you guys watch him on Friday. I mean, like Andy said, too, in his clip, like very rarely does Scott Matlock as a 3-technique defensive tackle, which is the tackle that lines up across from the guard. He said Andy did very rarely does he have a man-on-man situation. Scott Matlock has to go against 2 players on almost every single play, and he's in the backfield all the time making plays. And I mean, the best compliment I think you could give Scott Matlock would be probably he could start on almost every single Boise State team in history. And I'm even going back, dare I say, Prater, to the 2010, 20, and 11 teams. How does Scott Matlock not start on those teams? That's how good he is, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt that he's that dominant. And let's see what he does against UTEP. I'm really excited for this game. One, because I got sucked into coach speak. Andy Avalos said on Monday in his press conference that UTEP's offensive line is the second best offensive line they'll see all year. Do you think he was talking about Oregon State as number one?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I thought, but I wasn't exactly sure. But
yeah,
he said UTEP will have the second best offensive line they face all year. He said that is the strength of their football team. A couple of other assistant coaches have mentioned that since then. So I think they're on the page that the strength of UTEP is the offensive line. And if Scott Matlock can go off and have himself a dominating game, he's taking care of some business.
Is Scott Matlock the best player on Boise State's football team this season? I think it's obvious what Prater and myself, Johnny Ballgame, think, right?
Did we talk ourselves into that?
Yeah, I think Matlock's the best player on the team.
And JL Skinner is a close number 2. And let's see how this sucker plays out. Let's continue this conversation all season, Paul.
I think what hurts, I agree. I think what hurts Skinner is just the fact that he's only played 2 games versus Matlock's 3.
Yeah.
This time next week, if we do continue this conversation all week, the championship belt, if you will, who is wearing it right now for Boise State, the biggest badass, best football player on this team. And, sometimes you win the belt, sometimes you lose the belt. Yeah.
Skinner's been more productive, even though he's played in the 2 games. He's got 14 tackles. Scott Matlock's got 7. They have different jobs.
Yes.
Scott Matlock's got 2.5 TFLs, and he's got himself a half a sack. Obviously, JL's got the a pass breakup and that one nice interception that he had right there. So it's kind of a wash. They're both dominating the stat categories that these 2 players should be for their positions. So this is going to be a fun thing to watch and have a conversation with all season long.
All right. You're not going to believe, or maybe you will, what Mike Prater is going to tell you next.
What?
I could just leave that as the tease, but we're talking about catching a historic home run ball, i.e. Aaron Judge or Albert Pujols, because they are coming in the world of baseball. Our buddy BJ Rains is trying to do it tonight in Petco Park. Prater, we came up with this, and we want yours too, and you can call us and share them. If you caught the ball, either or, what would you ask for? You can be lame and just say, hey, I want $500,000, or you can be creative and say whatever else you would want. You're not... Just wait till you hear what Prater would ask for if he caught one of these balls. That's what we're doing, and we're doing it next. And don't forget, Friday morning at 9 a.m. on KTIK.com, we have our sweet deal this week. It's from Emerald Lawns, Tree and Pest. The cold weather's coming, guys. Keep insects and spiders away from your house. How about this? We'll give you a full season of comprehensive pest control. Normally that costs you $320. We're selling it to you on Friday morning for $160. We're cutting the price in half. That's why you listen to Idaho Sports Talk. JP, get us out of here.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic